Hello there, I'm going to talk about the Caine Mutiny Court Martial. Bit of a mouthful of a title. It's William Friedken's final film before he died. He filmed this while in a wheelchair. After editing he died, and the film was released after he died, but it was like finished by him. So it was just a wait to go to the festival circuit at that point when he died. So it was a complete film. So for insurance, during it, Guillermo del Toro, who had just done his recent films like Nightmare Alley, he sat in as a backup for Friedken in case Friedken fell ill, so the insurance could back the film. So he just sat in the set every day to be there, even though he was never needed. He just sat and watched Friedken work. So apparently he really enjoyed himself seeing another director work and seeing how they did it. But that's what happens sometimes with older directors. When Wenders did that for Antonioni for one of his last film, he did that as well, where he would go and sit for the insurance. So they want another director there in case the old master falls over and dies, and someone will finish the film at least. It happens, and usually cineast directors who are really big fans of the original director will just go and sit there for about 2 months or something and probably kind of work out their next film in their head or something while they're doing it, just watch what's going on. So that's how it was made. It was also made in one location, which means there was no location scale. It was one set with a couple of other small sets, like a corridor, a party set later on, but generally it was in one location. I mean, one of the things like Brian De Palma said once was when the director's legs go, that's then pretty much finished. Now Friedken's legs had gone, but because it was a set that was just basically one set, he could film the film. So it's not a remake of the Caine Mutiny, because the Caine Mutiny was based in the book, The Caine Mutiny. The Caine Mutiny Court Martial was Wilkes' stage adaptation of that material, where he would have one location, which is the court martial, and he'd throw the rest of the book out and focus on the court martial. And that's what the play basically is, and that's the strength of the play. Now, there has been a famous film, The Caine Mutiny, starring Humphrey Bogart from the 50s, which I've seen, but I saw years ago. I liked it without being mad about it. It was one of those films I always thought was interesting, but I wasn't so keen on some of the casting, so it felt that it was one of those films that you could remake and do a good job of, because you'd Humphrey Bogart being good, but the rest of the cast maybe not so good. So there was room for improvement. There's a good material there. And Robert Altman did a TV adaptation of this material in the 80s, during the time before the play, before he got back into making films, which I've not seen his version of it. But I did watch this new one from William Friedken, which came out on streaming this week. You can buy it for I got it for £6 streaming, because it's not a blockbuster title. They probably didn't spend that much money on it. They can afford to sell it cheaper and accumulate the money that way, rather than having to have a massive price and hope a lot of people buy it. You see, that's the advantage of actually being a low budget film, is you can keep the price down and sell it at a cheaper price and still make your money back quite easily, and still sell it to different companies like Netflix and things, and make money that way. So it was a low budget film because it was in a location. They had one star, Kiefer Sutherland, who's more of a TV star, and basically it was a modestly priced film, so they could allow the director to have control and do the film he wanted to do, which was a courtroom drama in one location. So it basically takes place in a situation where there's been a mutiny on a ship. Now, it used to be World War II, and they've updated it to the modern era. Now, Friedken said he really admired the place. He did not want to update it in any substantial way. He just changed a few things to make it now rather than then, like currency. Like, instead of the World War II, it's been the Middle Eastern problems is the location of the area for where the thing takes place. But apart from that, it's still the same thing, because the Navy does the same thing around the world. So it's they run a minesweeper which is trying to stop mines, to find mines in this area, war-torn area, to allow shipping lanes to keep going. Really, that's it. So, but the central thing is the same. One captain has moved up, has left the USS Caine. Captain Creek has moved to it to become the new commander. And over the 2 years, him and his XO, which is executive officer, and some of the men under him have clashed. Caine is a very much a old school guy. He expects discipline. He expects people to do their jobs in a way that clashes with the younger generation, who think that they know a lot as well and are not getting treated with respect. And that's kind of the clash that's there. But unlike the old film, this film, you only ever get that from the testimonies of the people. You never have a flashback saying this is what happened. It's like, no, you have to take the word of the people as you go from one person giving their evidence to another, then to another, to another, and you have to make your own mind up of what's true and what's not. And the film does a very good job of keeping you interested, like having the material be there and varying up the shots, varying up the actual actors play different parts are varied enough to keep it interesting. I also make the points, but sometimes Friedken goes in close quickly. Other times he keeps a distance and lets the camera move around the actor as they start talking. So he varies it all the way through to give you an idea of what's going on in the court. What's this person thinking in the court? What's that person thinking? So you always get an idea of what everyone thinks in the court, what everyone's about. So you've basically got three main people in this court setting. You've got Lance Reddick as the guy in charge of the court. He's the main judge. There's other judges around him as well, but he's the one who speaks for the court. You have Jason Clark as the defence attorney for the person who accused of doing a mutiny, and he's a guy who actually was on duty, but he's off because of an injury. He's off duty because he was a lawyer in his former life. They've asked him to come in, and it turns out this is a job no one wants. It's political suicide. No one wants this job. People have turned it down left, right, and centre. And even he's saying, why give it to me? Because I haven't been doing this for a long time. He's basically a pilot now. And he's like, and basically he's like, someone has to do the job, and we're asking you to do the job. And he has concerns, and he's sympathetic to the captain as well, because he comes from an older school. There's a defence attorney, there's a prosecution for the court. I can't remember the actress's name, but she's really good. I've blanked on the name. Something Raymond, I think. Manica Raymond or something like that. I'm terrible with names. So, she's the prosecutor of this guy for doing the mutiny. So as the court goes on, you get to see the take of initially Kiefer Sutherland's Queeg. He gives his report, but then he's told he might have to come back for the defence lawyer to pull him back later on after they've had a bit of evidence. So he does his thing and then he leaves. And Kiefer Sutherland's basically bookends the film. He's there at the beginning, he's there at the end, in the middle he's not there. So even though it's under his name, the film's he's the star of the film, it's really Jason Clarke's film. He's the defence lawyer, and he's the guy who you see most of the story from his point of view, because he's defending the person who he's not particularly keen on. He's not like, hooray, you are a purely innocent man, you should, oh yeah, I will defend you to the hilt. No, he does not like this guy. He's not like, at best he says, I can probably get you off for this, but you have to trust me, because there's only one way to get you off, which is to totally assassinate Queeg, which means you have to just shut up and do what you're told and let me do this. And so basically, it's about him finding out what Krieg was really like, rather than the Navy approved version of Krieg, who is a hard ass. And then, as the film goes on, it's like, no, he was incompetent. They had nicknames for him because he had lots of rules that didn't make sense to them, and lots of quirks that were strange. But the thing is, they were strange quirks, but did they inhibit him from doing his job, or did they not? And that's what you have to try and figure out. And you get lots of evidence from different people about what's going on, like psychiatrists who say, not, so basically say, no, they did not. Yeah, he had certain things, but he kept them under control. And you have the evidence of some people on board who were on the side of the guy who did the mutiny, who said, no, they made it worse. It was too impossible to work with. And it becomes a story of, like, well, who's telling the truth? And it's a twisty story, but it's not about the twist. It's about what did the twist reveal about the situation, really. So, I'm going to say now it's a terrific film before going to spoilers. Even though it's based on an old book, you might not have read the book or seen the old film. So you can stop here if you've not seen it and just go see it. It's well worth it. The performances are really good. Sutherland's very different from Humphrey Bogart in the role, so he does his own thing. The same with all the other actors. Best performance is Jason Clarke in the lead. He does his own thing. He's much better than the actor from the earlier film, at least for me. Because you get a sense with him as like, he has a physicality of someone who actually might work in the Navy. You know, he's big. You feel he could be a pilot, but also you've got this sense of someone who's smart enough to be a lawyer. So you get a sense of both kind of worlds floating through. So he can actually see both sides of the argument more than anyone else. And that comes through in the performance. You do get a sense of someone who has a reason for doing what he's doing, but might not like it. And he got a wealth of experience beyond his clients or the people he's dealing with. So you do get a sense of complexity from him that makes him the lead of the film, even though Sutherland is the one who gets the poster and things like that. So now into spoilers, because you can't talk about the film without having the ending. And because at a certain point, right, so spoilers now. Okay. We get to the ending where you get the traditional thing of Krieg breaks on the stand to a degree, shows himself to be very kind of nervous, but he's nervous because his career's on the line. It's like Clark's pushing his neuroses to show up the neuroses of what this guy can be like under pressure. And the whole idea, what he's arguing is, yeah, Krieg can be a problem, but his problems under pressure could be dangerous. They could be dangerous to other people. That's what he's trying to prove. Not that Krieg is awful in any way, it's just like he has these neuroses that under normal circumstances aren't a major issue, but under stressful circumstances are. But, you know, the earlier on they've shown that Krieg actually followed all the rules of Navy, all the experience of a Navy captain. Like, what he did, what he was trying to do, was what everyone else in the Navy would have done. And it just, his ex was saying, no, that's the wrong way, you have to do this thing, which worked, but it was a very dire situation. So we get the confirmation, the guy that did the mutiny is absolved of blame. He's not going to jail forever. You know. So it's a victory. So he's very happy. But of course, obviously, Krieg is not going to be a captain anymore. So this guy's life has been ruined because of what happened. We never see Krieg after the court. It's just implied that he's in a bad place. And you see enough of him to realise that's his life. So there is a tragedy. It's the sense of, yeah, he's messed up now. He's got real problems. So we get to the best scene in the film, basically, where they go, there's a party at the end to celebrate that the guy got off. And this is when you get the feelings of Jason Clarke's character coming out. Because it's also a book launch for one of the kind of guy who was beside the EXO through most of it, who has sold a book, and who Clarke just rips apart, both him and the EXO, as being the real conspirators, the real villains of the piece, not Krieg. He says basically, you haunted this guy for 2 years, and you didn't like him because he was tough on you. Which, that's the Navy, what do you expect? And you worked on his problems, you basically braced him so much that when you needed him to listen to you, there was no way in hell he was going to listen to you, which caused the problem. Not Krieg, it was you lot who did it, because if you were so egotistical and so focused on ruining this guy, hating him because he wasn't your old captain, and having rules that you did not like, that you made the situation so toxic. You gave him names behind his back. You did little things throughout just to annoy him, that when he needed to actually trust you, there's no way in hell he's going to trust you. It's like, use the problems. And then you realise through that speech that a lot of stuff that they said happened that Krieg did wrong, because it's only from the court martial, you've only got their point of view that it was wrong. It's only you've always got the evidence of these people who he's saying are liars. So some of the things you viewed as evidence that Krieg might be a little off, is actually now suspect. It might not have happened. They're saying like he was cowardly at one point, and since the machinery was broken, and they said it wasn't, and now you're thinking, was it really not broken? Was it broken? What's really going on here? And you do get a sense that they really were like horrible people, and he did yell them out, you lot are the guilty people. And not only does Krieg have to live with it, they have to live with it, and so does he, because it's Clarke's character who has to live with the fact that he did something he's not that proud of. Ultimately, it was his job, but he spent the afternoon trying to make up to the prosecutor because he realised he might have gone too far. And she has to try to get him Charles as well for some of his behaviour in the court, and he can't actually disagree with her because he thinks that he might have gone too far to do his job. And that's a suggestion that, yeah, there was lots of stuff here that was actually far more ambiguous than the setup of a court martial. Because in court martials, you always expect to get an ending where you've got, you know who did it and why. You want a Few Good Men ending where Jack Nicholson's character is the villain, blah blah blah. It's easy. And this one, it's like, no, it's not so easy. It's like, yeah, Krieg did things that were probably a bit off, because he was a bit off at times. But in a lot of ways, he was right. He's a voice of experience. And he'd been doing this job for decades before these guys came on. And they disliked him because he was a hard ass. That was it. And they were so entitled and so sure of themselves. And when their actual ability was needed, he wouldn't listen to them because it was so horrible to him. And there's the suggestion that the guy who sold the book was feeding the EXO lots of information to undermine Krieg throughout. So it was like a joint effort from both of them because Krieg had actually recommended the EXO for a command of his own. And in return, they had created mutiny. They had said he did something after mutiny, saying, let's forget about this mutiny. And which Krieg completely denies. But they're trying to put him some doubt in everyone's eyes that maybe he did do that. And as you get to the end, you're thinking, that's probably a lie. That's probably a blatant lie. And you get a feeling that the Jason Clarke character, when he heard that, he knew it was a lie. He knew that was a bit that was too far. They pushed it too far into, okay, there's something dodgy here. And there's lots of things like that throughout. It's like, it keeps on switching, but not in a, oh, here's a twist. It's much more like, what do you actually believe? Is it this, or is it that? Or just human nature, like what are things in human nature? What do people see in human nature that can twist it left or right? And, you know, like, who do you trust, who do you not trust? And that's what's satisfying about the film. It understands its limitations, understands that what would be its limitation, which is it's a courtroom setting, you don't see everything, as its strength in the sense of you don't see everything, you have to interpret it. If you saw scenes as flashbacks, you'd interpret that as true. But since it's just people talking, you can interpret that as being realistic or not, or could be real or not. You're never quite sure. And even when you've actually made an assumption, they point out that could be a lie. You're just going by the word of somebody who might be untrustworthy. And that's the strength of the film, is the sense of it's, you start with one side, you go to the other side, and then you think, the truth's probably not either side. The truth is, he's probably a bit neurotic, could be a hard ass, but these other guys are probably kind of horrible too. And you do get a sense of the complexity of the situation really well put together in this film. So it's a very good exit for Friedken. Friedken's one of those talents. There was always talent there, but some of the films were great and some of the films weren't. You know, he could, you never knew what you were going to get with him. I mean, he'd probably hate to be compared to this guy, but he's kind of like John Boorman in the sense of it can be something great or it could be something appalling. You're never quite sure what you're going to get with him, or it could be something weird. Like, Boorman can go all over the place, so can Friedken. It's like, it's just those kind of directors, they're interesting, but sometimes the quality control's a bit off and they try things maybe they shouldn't try, and so you have that kind of sense with them. It's like, yeah, but it's a good ending for Friedkin, because he's had a few good films in the last few years of his career. He had a really bad middle section of his career where he did some strong films that no one saw, and then when he had to do the compromise films, they weren't so good because they weren't really his films. They weren't films he really wanted to make. So you get stuff like Jade, which is like a compromise film, which I'll be covering soon. But then again, you get stuff later on like Killer Joe, which is really good. So it's like that's the thing, is he slowly built himself back up from the mainstream, outside the mainstream later on, and did things that interested him. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you're going to see the film. It's really good. So that's me for now. Right, bye.